Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's stream. And of course, our new channel. Um, oh, I think there's an echo somewhere. Okay, that's probably me. But yeah, welcome everyone. I'm here with the incredible Angie Jones. Hello, Angie.
Hello, everyone. Good to be here. What's wrong, Ace?
I just took a second. I had the YouTube open a different tab and I completely forgot about it. That should stop the echo. Can you hear me clearly now? Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, talk about a live stream. But yeah, welcome everybody. We're excited to have you all here today. My name is Adewale Abati. I'm a Star Developer Advocate at Block. And as Angie mentioned, we're here to talk to you about codename Goose. Want to introduce yourself a bit again, Angie? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Angie. I lead developer relations here at Block, and we're so excited about the launch of Codename Goose 1.0. It's been out for a little while, the beta version. So we've been tinkering with it a lot internally at Block, and our engineers are loving it. They've saved about 20% of time by having Goose automate, tasks that usually take multiple days to do in minutes. So they're getting some time back to actually think and reflect and tinker on, more innovative things. And so we thought, wouldn't it be cool to actually open source this so that other developers can also benefit?
Yeah, talking about open sourcing and other developers benefiting, I think it's also nice to mention that Goose is currently trending on YouTube and I think on GitHub rather, and I think that is very exciting. Also shows that a lot of people are finding it very useful already. Yeah, it's also very showing that a lot of people are already finding it very useful and integrating to their workflow. So today we just want to talk to you about Goose, show you what's happening, and answer any possible questions you might have. So just to get started, we have a lot of people in chat. If you let us know where you're joining from, I'm joining from Amsterdam. Angie is in New Orleans, I believe. Yeah, so let us know in
Yeah,
chat
I'm
where
in
you're
New
joining.
Orleans. Quick fun fact, we had like snow last week. So I knew that this was going to be a good week because that was like unprecedented snow. We had I think about like 11 inches of snow, which does not happen in New Orleans. So I knew that the launch of Goose was going to be amazing. That was a sign.
No, the sign. That is cool. Well, yeah, I want to say hi to a few people in chat. Hello, Rizal. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mohammed. I'm Mark. Hello, Tanya. Tanya is joining us from Queens. We have people from Texas. This is cool. Very nice. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started into this, I think most of you probably know what Goose is, right? But I just want to ask again, Angie, what exactly is codename Goose?
Yeah. Ace, don't assume most people know. There's so much going on in tech and
Yeah,
in the AI
actually,
space. It's really, really hard to keep up. So, for
100%.
those who are new, thank you for being here. Goose is an open source AI agent. We launched it under Block Open Source this week, actually 2 days ago. And as Ace said, it's number one trending on GitHub. So I'm really glad that developers are finding value in it. I'm going to take a step back on like what is an AI agent, because there's a lot of kind of buzzwords that are going on, floating around the space. And so most of you are likely familiar with large language models such as ChatGPT and things like that. And usually you interface with them directly in a conversation. So say, for example, if I needed to debug some code, I would maybe paste that code in ChatGPT and I would ask for its assistance in how do I fix this. So ChatGPT would then give me a list of steps, right? And I would then go and I have like ChatGPT here, I have my IDE here, and I'm like, well, okay, and I'm like manually doing those steps. What Goose does is an agent that steps in between me and the LLM to do the task on my behalf. So I've essentially employed this bot assistant that can talk directly to the LLM. I give it my prompt as I normally do with ChatGPT, but then I let Goose and ChatGPT have a conversation amongst themselves, and Goose will go ahead and perform the actions on my behalf. And it's
That is
open.
amazing. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt that key part as well. Like Goose is open source. A lot of people have been contributing as well. And one very interesting way to put it, especially seeing how different people have used Goose today, people are using it beyond just engineering tasks. It's essentially a personal assistant. You literally have a personal assistant that has the backing of all the knowledge and information of your chosen preferred LLM, and it can do all of these actions for you on your behalf, following your instructions. And I think that is very beautiful. And technology is moving so fast. There's a lot of like Angie mentioned earlier, new announcements, new technology, and now we're at this point where we can focus on less on the repetitive task and just get creative and skip this step of copying and pasting from ChatGPT, because I do that a lot. Like, hey, tell me how to solve this problem, and then I copy the code, take it back to my code base, and then there's an error, come back. I don't do that anymore. I've been doing that for a while, thanks to Goose.
Yeah, that's amazing because you're right. Like I feel like, I'm like, okay, that didn't work. Give me something else. And you start kind of getting frustrated. But what Goose will do is even, as they're trying to apply the things from your LLM, if it doesn't work, it'll have that conversation. So I'm out of the way. I don't have to worry about it. It just gets resolved. Another cool thing about Goose is it does not have its own LLM with it. You bring your own. So that allows developers to choose like what's their preferred flavor. Do you want to work with OpenAI's LLMs? Do you
Mhm.
want to work with Google's LLMs? DeepSeek is having a big week. So we're kind of playing with that. This is not an endorsement because the DeepSeek model doesn't have tool calling natively, so it doesn't work very well yet with agents because agents need to call tools. But
Yeah.
I'm confident they'll come out with something soon, and we have like a customized DeepSeek model that we kind of hacked together just to get something going and prove that it could work with Goose. But yeah, don't go trying to build like a production app with that.
Right. And as you're joining us, if you want to get started with Goose, you can definitely check out the website. Documentation is constantly being improved, and also adding new features as it goes. Blog.github.io/Goose to get started. It's pretty detailed. You can also join Discord or provide any feedback, issues that you come across, or anything on GitHub as well. So let me take that off.
I want to touch on a question that came in already about any chance to get some specific examples. And that's a
Right.
great question. So, Ace, sorry if I'm jumping ahead, but I want to talk a little bit about the architecture of Goose
Yeah.
and how it's made up. So, the first thing I said was that you can bring your own LLM and you can have Goose utilize that. But also, there's an extension ecosystem that allows people to essentially connect Goose to any other resources or systems that's also built on the same protocol. And that protocol is the Model Context Protocol. So this is an open standard that was developed by Anthropic, and Block Open Source actually assisted with that model. So it was multiple companies involved in that. And it's a really nice and kind of seamless way to connect agents to external service data, resources, that sort of thing. So, to answer the question about is there any chance to get some specific examples? Yes, that is top of mind for the team. We'll be working diligently on providing you all with tutorials in written form as well as video form to really show the capabilities of Goose.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Angie. I think I want to get started with the different platforms that you can start to use Goose on. Right now, you can, 1 second. Right now, you can use Goose on both Mac OS and Linux. You can use the Goose desktop on Mac alone, not the Intel one, I believe. And also on Linux, you can use the CLI. We have also found people using Goose on Windows using WSL. So you can install it through the WSL platform. Can't remember what the full name for that is right now, but that's also another way for you to try out Goose if you're on Windows. All of this is in the documentation and can get started.
Yeah, it was really funny to see the response from the community around like the operating systems that were supported. And so just to be like super transparent, like pretty much everybody at Block, we use Mac, you know, a couple of folks use Linux, but a very small percentage uses Windows. But you quickly find out that's the beauty of like kind of iterating and putting software out early, is to see the feedback from the community. So we do have a, a discussion open in GitHub on our repo where people can upvote if they, you know, want Windows support. In the last couple of days, last I checked, it was over 300 something votes for Windows. So definitely something that the team has taken as a mandate and is exploring on how to get Goose in Windows. But like Ace said, for now we do have it's supported with WSL, so you can check that out in the installation guide.
Awesome.
Let me
Right.
give y'all
So
some links in the chat.
yeah, please do. I am actually surprised that a lot of people. I mean, it is nice that a lot of people want to have like the desktop app itself also on Windows. I think the platforms that people have tried to get it working on. I've seen people run it on Docker. I've seen people run it in different shell environments, and I think this is the exciting thing about technology, seeing how people can plug and play into different kind of scenarios, even more than you imagined it initially. But yeah, I think the next item I want to talk about is the providers. And you talked a bit about that. Just to go over it one more time. You can bring your own LLMs into Goose. I can show you real quick an example. I want to show you guys the documentation. Too many tabs. Yes. So you can configure your own LLM provider. We have a couple of options available here from Anthropic. Databricks, Gemini, Grok, Olama, open source models, as long as they support what's it called? Tool calling, function calling. You can do all of this and try it out, and then bring your own choice, your own preferences, and have Goose automate all of this for you. Moving on to the next. Angie, I'm very curious. How has Goose coming to like in your regular workflow? How has Goose coming to change or improve your productivity in any way?
Yeah, in lots of ways. I think ways that I haven't even realized yet, but some immediate ones I really am excited about, like the JetBrains extension, as well as the computer controller extension. So let me get into those just a little bit. So the computer controller extension will allow Goose to control your computer in some way. So things like maybe launching a browser or interacting with the browser. So now you've unlocked a lot of use cases where you might need to do something on the web. I've been walking around all week in my house just saying, oh, I should get Goose to do this. I should get Goose to do that. Things like, ordering, specific groceries that I know we always run out of.
Yeah.
I could automate this sort of thing and have Goose just like kind of do this, on my behalf. And that's outside of my developer workflow. And that's just real life use cases, which we've been seeing a lot of lately as well. There was a doctor actually in the Discord that talked about how he's not technical, but he's, been exploring AI and seeing how it could help in his profession. And, he wants to use Goose. He laid out a agenda of what he wants to use Goose for to help with his research and like kind of periodically check these different journals and things like that so that he has a digest of information and can email those things out and take notes and that sort of thing. So I thought that was really cool. We saw a use case on LinkedIn yesterday from someone who says, I'm overwhelmed with the news right now. I took 30 minutes. I used Goose to basically pull the headlines for me from multiple sources that I trust and curate, a news digest for me that gets emailed every day. You know what I mean? And so those are
Yeah.
some pretty cool use cases. I've been using it with the JetBrains IDE. So adding just another AI piece to that development workflow where I can say, write some tests. Here's the code. I finished writing the code because I like the code. So I don't want the agent to like write all of my code. So I like the code. I wrote it. It's great. It's like, okay, can you now add some unit tests for it? And again, different than ChatGPT that might say, okay, here's how you would go about do it, or here's something that you can then paste somewhere else. Goose will just go ahead and edit those files for me.
Yeah. One of the best ways I've used
With
it.
the GitHub extension. They can even check them in and everything. So, I mean, you can
Right.
automate this as much as you want to.
Yep. I think one of the best I've used for was build out like a whole new project, like without writing a single line of code myself. I shared what the idea was. Hey, I'm thinking about this. Can you build it for me? And just listed out all the steps and went through, creating the files, telling me this is what I've done. This is what I'm thinking about doing next. Do you want me to proceed? And asking for permission when he wants to make like a significant change. And then when he got it, I was like, you know what, I want to deploy this to GitHub pages and also guide into the entire flow. It makes me feel more like, hey, you know what, I can think about this thing and I can tell someone to go do it. I think that's very exciting. And the best part about all of this is it's not just limited to the agentic abilities and the LLMs that you bring. We've been able to also leverage MCP servers in Goose to be able to plug in different applications, different tools that you already use. We have an extensive library that is continuously being added of extensions that you can explore. I'm going to zoom in this a bit just so you guys can see it. We have the JetBrains, like Angie mentioned, she's already using. We have some that integrate to Git and Figma and many more coming soon as well. Another key thing you should note is that, sorry to interrupt, Angie. Another key thing you should note is that you can bring your own custom MCP server uh, into this and also use it with Goose. But before I go back too much into what MCP server is, I'm going to just pass it on to Angie again because I think she wants to talk about what an MCP server is.
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit. So MCP is the model context protocol that I mentioned earlier. That's built on a standard. So basically, anyone can build one of these servers. It's totally open. This small catalog that we have here are ones that we've actually tested thoroughly with Goose. So we know that they work pretty well, and we're highlighting them there. But to Ace's point, anyone can make an MCP server and connect it to Goose. In fact, there's hundreds of MCP servers available on GitHub. We have a link to it in our doc on the using extensions guide. We have a link to MCP servers from no, go to the look on the right where it says MCP servers in the menu. And then look at that link right above, go up right there, any MCP server. Yeah, so this is a repository that's kept by the protocol itself. And so there's a bunch of servers kind of listed here that do all sorts of things. So feel free to try out any of those. You see like Google Maps and scroll down, Ace. GitHub is there, Puppeteer and Slack. Actually, one of our coworkers connected to the Slack extension and started sending us message via Goose in our team channel. So that was
Yeah,
pretty
that
cool.
was what.
But yeah, someone just built. I saw today someone built one for Noster, and so that exists as well. So I mean there's so many, there's even more under the third parties one, Ace.
Yeah.
Just I mean there's like Cloudflare and I mean everything, right? So
Yeah.
have fun with it. I mean I think there's lots of use cases that people can come up with using these tools.
Yeah,
And I'm really excited to see what the community comes up with. Like, it's very much so giving me the days where we used to do mashups and kind of, let me take this API and this API and let's see what I can build. This is kind of the same thing. Like, what extensions can you put together to develop something really cool? And what's great about that is you don't have to maintain it. You don't have to actually even build it. Tell Goose to do the thing for you. So, I mean, you can really see
yeah.
value really quickly.
Yeah, I'm a very huge fan of the extensions because, like, if I'm using ChatGPT today, for example, I ask all the questions, we have this back and forth conversation, and then we bring in an agent like Goose and it's doing all these actions for me. But being able to also then bring in extensions over that kind of feels like I'm then bringing all of these tools, bringing my agent and all of these other tools into the rest of my existing workflow, and that opens up so much potential. Like, I keep saying it's limitless. Like, just your imagination is kind of like your limit because you can only do what you imagine you can do. But what is very possible in the next couple of weeks, months, whatever the case is beyond current imagination, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm also gonna show before I move on to the next section. I want to ask the audience so far. If you've tried Goose, let us know the ways you've used Goose in your workflow. If you haven't, and based on the conversations that we've had so far, let us know what you are hoping to use Goose for, or what you're wondering if it's possible for you to use Goose for, because that's why we're here right now, to have these conversations with you and hopefully answer as many questions as you can. There's a quick question from chat that says, I think it would be exciting if we can create an MCP server that can be linked to Nostri. Yeah, Angie just mentioned that like a few seconds ago. Someone did create, exactly. There is one. Someone did create one. Like, I saw that earlier today. I'm just gonna go through chat for a second, see if I missed anything. How to use an MCP server. I can show you an example today, but you can always go to the extensions page, and once you click on, say, Fetch or Figma, as case maybe, you can install directly on the desktop app or run it in the CLI as well. But we'll come to that in a second. Um, Dario says, my first Goose around experiment was calling the Goose documentation site and converting to a single markdown for offline experience
Ah,
access. That is amazing. That is like very unique use case. Like, I want to have this accessible as anytime I want it to, and you're using the tool for it. Um, while we're documenting the Goose itself, I have to mention that there were many times I used Goose to like go through the code base, like, yo, tell me how to do this, or tell me how this is implemented so I can document it properly. And I think that's also like, dogfooding Goose and having Goose go through Goose itself. That was pretty cool to see as well.
yeah. There's
Yeah,
also, you highlighted this a bit, Ace, but there's the CLI, and then there's also a desktop. So that's new in Goose 1.0. In the beta versions, it was only CLI, but now there's an Electron app that you can use on Mac OS. Um, and that's pretty cool as well if you prefer like that kind of GUI type of interaction. I'm a CLI girl though, so I just stick to the CLI. But whatever your flavor is, you can even have both, because whatever you configure in one, it persists across both.
yeah. So we have someone mentioned I got 4 projects open with a Goose CLI session, which is great. The only limit is Anthropic rate limit.
Oh,
Um,
I want to talk about that. So this is something that is common with agents, because they work much faster than we could work, right? And so if I was using, let's say, ChatGPT, and I asked it to debug something for me, it would give me the instructions on how to fix it. And then me as a human, I read it, I take whatever they say, I go do it. And so this is a much slower flow compared to a bot that's doing these things for you. As you can imagine, this moves a whole lot quicker. And so you're going to hit rate limits, especially if you're on free accounts or, lower tiers. And so there's a couple of ways around that. The easiest way around it is to upgrade your LLM to a higher rate limit. But another way is to use something like Open Router, which will allow you to put in a couple of different LLMs, and so it kind of automatically routes between them to get around some of that rate limiting. But also, you can give it smaller tasks. For example, if I said, build me, a full like end-to-end app that does X, Y, and Z. That's a really big request in one session. And if I don't have a LLM that's powerful enough or has enough tokens and rate limit usage available, then I'm gonna run into this, right? But you can do it kind of smaller tasks. If you don't want to upgrade or use Open Router, you can just kind of ask for like one thing at a time.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Angie. I think another question is, I'm CLI till I die. That's nice.
Yeah, okay, Daryl.
But is there any advantage to using the GUI on macOS? I personally
What do you
think it's
think, Ace? Do you
I
use the
think it's
GUI?
a thing of preference because we've tried as much as possible to create a similar experience across both. You can also have both on your device at the same time, especially if you're using a Mac right now because that's what's supported. They use the same config files. So if I'm in VS Code, for example, I have Goose running in my CLI within VS Code, and I'm just working with my projects directly. If I have if I'm in a different mood, I just want to engage in a different environment, then I use the GUI. I probably use the CLI more than I use the GUI right now, if I'm being honest. So I think I'm gonna say it's a thing of preference. What do you think?
Um, Probably. I'm super biased, so I can admit that. I just feel like the CLI is, I don't know why I feel this way. I know that the same features exist in both, but I
Yeah,
just feel more in control with a CLI, if that makes sense. But the
yeah,
GUI is nice as well. You probably can get to things a whole lot quicker in that way. Even looking at the installation of the extensions, you saw on the extensions page, you could just press the install button and boom, you're there. Versus with the CLI, I'm going to have to go through a couple of different screens in order to actually configure an extension or add one. So,
right. Thank you, Angie. We have a few more questions. I'm gonna go through real quick before we move on to the next section. I'm using
oh,
Goose to see.
let me point on the. I'm sorry, Ace. I'm gonna point on one more
Or
thing with the GUI that I didn't realize because, like I said, I use the CLI. But someone asked about the JetBrains desktop, the JetBrains extension in desktop, and they were like, "Okay, how do I use JetBrains with desktop?" And I was like stumped because I'm like, I don't know, how do you do that actually like in the IDE, right? But actually you can just have them side by
that's
side
right.
and you can talk in the desktop, and the desktop can see your IntelliJ. So like if you have a line of code highlighted or something like that,
Yeah,
like it can see that and it knows and they can talk. And I thought that was like amazing.
that is cool. That is very cool, actually. Power of MCP servers. Yeah, back to this. I'm using Goose to see how intensely I can level up my solopreneur game. That is amazing. Good to hear. Um, Working on Goose has felt like having a team of very junior engineers under me. I
Is
think
that
that's
good or bad?
like, yo, go do this, go do this. That's pretty cool. And you can have multiple sessions running at the same time. So multiple junior engineers, I guess.
Hmm. But watch out for your rate limit.
Yep. Watch out for your weight limit. My friend and I also started creating personalized courses for ourselves. Oh, nice. Pretty cool.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna move on quickly a little bit just to show you guys what the excuse me. You can always come back to the questions as well. What's possible, like just a little bit of configuration, visualization for people. So this is the Goose desktop app on macOS. If you haven't seen it yet, this is what it looks like. If you are unfamiliar as well, you can always change the working directory of your current Goose session. There's a settings up here to do dark mode, light mode, whatever the case is, and then go into more details about configuration, all of the configuration that you can also do on the CLI. I guess that's what the GUI is for, to make it like a different experience for you. So you can choose different models and also expand on extensions. The models come from the providers. So we have a couple of providers that are currently supported. So let me take this off. Yeah, that are currently supported that you can try out. Open Router provides you to a variety of AI models. We have Grok, Google, Olama, Databricks, Anthropic, OpenAI, and all of those is available here. And then you can also, like I said, customize it any extension of your choice. You can add an extension manually, which could be if you have like a custom MCP server that you want to run and you're not a CLI person, because you can do all of this in the CLI. Like I said, you can do all of this in the CLI, but it's also possible for you to do it in the UI. Oh, I zoomed in too much. Yep. And then the browse goes directly to the extension side. You open up a new tab just so you guys see it. So you can also, as we continue to add more extensions, you can find that and add new stuff to it. So I just wanted to give us like a quick breakdown of what the UI looks like. You have example prompts that you can run, and we can have that in the background, just doing stuff. So Angie, is there anything else you want to add?
No, that was pretty cool. Maybe like sessions and stuff like that. Maybe talk about how do you do like a new session, and
Yes.
when should you do a new session?
Yes. Talking about the rate limit thing, and also if you've been working on a session for too long, I think one of the best recommendations is to either start a new session so that you can, of course, avoid the rate limit, and you can also consistently keep up the consistent memory going. The way to add a new session or start a new session is to you start menu over there, and then I have a different separate Goose session I can continue to use both at the same time. But at the end of the day, like I said, rate limit is a real thing. But you can avoid rate limits with the recommendations that we've shared, and also upgrading your LLM provider to a different tier. So that's also a different way to do that.
Yeah, I would also say it like you don't like a lot of this is new, but it's also familiar if you've been working with LLMs before. So I apply a lot of what I learned from just interacting with Chat GPT to this same thing. Like, maybe we're in a conversation, and then that conversation gets so long that Chat GPT is now getting a little bit confused or going in the wrong direction
Hallucinating?
because of something earlier I said. So those are signals to me that I probably should just start a new session and start over. So that is not, keeping all of that context with it. And so same thing with agents, because they'll need to process like all of that stuff every time they're, doing like a new request or something like that. So you want to keep your sessions as short as possible.
100%. Thank you. Did you just get dark in here? uh, I just want to point out the installation guide again. Angie just highlighted that in chat, so you can go there to find out any information on how to get started. Using Goose. Before we move on to the next section, I want to ask, what's next for Goose? But before you answer that, Angie, perhaps I want to ask the audience if there's any questions or any curiosity about what Goose can do or what you're already using Goose for. You continue to share. You can always drop that in the chat, and we'll get to it as well. So, what's next for Goose, Angie?
What's next for Goose? Right now we're in listen mode, and so a lot of great feedback, feature requests, bugs, people are telling us about, and so we are on top of that. The team is definitely hearing you and prioritizing those requests and bug fixes, and so we released 1.0 on Tuesday. I think we're already at 1.0.2, maybe even 3 since I woke up this morning, not sure. But they are definitely cranking out fixes and putting in features. So if there's anything that's bugging you or you don't see it in the app, but you would like it, feel free to request it. And like I said, it's open source as well, so you can even jump in if you want to. Shout out to the new contributors who have helped, whether that be improving the docs or adding a troubleshooting tip to the site, or actually helping with a new feature, all of that is very much so appreciated.
Thank you very much, Angie. That is exciting. And just to also add a bit to what Angie said, we've also made a lot of improvement just of the community giving feedback on how they're using Goose. So if you run into anything or you have an idea, you can always join the Discord. That is very much welcome. An example of which is this question about asking if I can use a non-local instance of Olama. We This is also like part of the 1.0.2 release that was just shared like recently from people trying to do the same. So now this is also supported now. You can definitely try it out to use a non-local instance of Olama. Let me see. I'm going to check it out this weekend. That's great job, Jacoby. Definitely do that. I think,
Jacoby, for your something easy, there is a quick start that
yes,
basically
I was
builds
going
a
to share that.
tic-tac-toe game.
I was just
Ace, are
going to
you
share
gonna do that
that.
today?
What?
Were you
Are we going
gonna
to do
do
that
that?
today? No,
Okay,
not
so
that.
it's
I
a
was going
show
to show
you.
this. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Oh, I wasn't going to show on stream. I mean, I was pointing to the
Oh,
quick start that you
oh,
can
oh, oh, oh. Okay,
do
so
that.
Jacoby, yeah, this is something like within 5 minutes you should be like you should have like a tic-tac-toe game built.
Yeah.
This one was really fun to do for me, and I created the tick. Well, I Goose created Goose created the tic-tac-toe game, and it was so much fun. I couldn't stop playing it over the weekend. And I didn't win one time, which was embarrassing, but that showed like how good of a job Goose did making the game.
Yeah, definitely. Love that. Thank you. Someone dropped a tip here in chat real quick, saying how you can also continue to use the sessions. I haven't tried this yet, but it says it works all right. So if you're using Ghost, I guess this is a great tip as well. Thank you for sharing, Igwe. Awesome. I don't know if there's anything you want to add, Angie, or something else we could. Have I missed anything? Is there anything you
No,
like to see, chat? Yeah.
I want you to show Goose do something. People
Oh,
want to see.
yes. So, let's play around. I'm gonna do 2 sessions just so we
Oh,
can push the limit. On one session, we're gonna take. I think Max mentioned that do the classic snake. This is one that Brad loves the most. So we're gonna make a snake game. Oh, I wasn't sharing my screen. Damn, sorry. So we're gonna make a snake game. Let me increase this a bit. Yep, it's one of the default prompts. Second, make a snake game in a new folder. And while that is running, I'm gonna do something else on the side. I might be pushing the limit, but let's see. That's why we're here, right?
well,
um,
before you do that, Brad said something about a snake game, and I was like, "What the heck is snake game?" Like I've never heard of that before, so I had
yeah,
to Google it. And it is pretty fun game. So
you never played the snake game?
no, I never even heard of the snake
Oh
game.
my goodness, he was the brave on Nokia phones. Like everyone, I thought everyone did.
Oh, not me.
Right. So just a quick rundown of what's happening. It's building a game with Python. Made a new directory snake game. Wrote out the code in Python. Let me see if I can open it in VS Code real quick.
I really like that it tells you what it's
Yes.
doing, so it's not such a black box.
Right. Oh, so it was unable to install Python. That could be my configuration. So because it tried a few times to install Python, but because it was unable to, it gave me the instructions so that I can try it myself and then run the game. But before we run it, let me see if I can open it up real quick to show you. Hmm, where is it? Snake game. What's the name of the game? Okay, Snake game was the name. Right. So, 1 second. I just want to show you all the code that was just written. Boom. Too much?
No, that's great.
Right. So this was just generated by Goose.
That
Um,
quickly.
yep, all of this, like just now. um, It was unable to run it because I don't think I have Python installed, which is weird. Don't want to get into installing Python right
You
now.
don't have to do that now, but question, you can have Goose install this, yes?
Yes. Yes, I can have Goose installed this. I'm using a different laptop. My configuration is something else. Uh, so that, but basically the code was just written, and that would have been really nice to see demo real quick. But the other thing I wanted us to do while this is done, so it shouldn't I can do a JavaScript app real quick before we move on. I'm gonna start a new session.
Okay. I like
Yeah.
that. I like to see the habit. New session, new topic, new
New
session.
session.
Love
So what we're gonna build now is a very simple weatherman. But and just to show you guys what's possible, I'm also gonna like switch my directory like to my web app. That's where I do most of my what's it called project. So you can switch directories anytime you want to. I'm zooming in on this just so you guys can see more. That's why the yeah. So the instruction I want to give to Goose today is to build a new app in JavaScript to get the weather of any specified location of my choice. You can call it the weather robot. Let's switch to weather robot. So let's see what's going to happen in a few seconds.
While we're waiting, Ace, which LLM are you configured with? I see
Yeah,
Claude.
I'm configured on Databricks using the Cloud 3.5 Sonnet 2. Everyone wants to see the game. Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna check one with my Python installation because I have the problem here. I just need to check my Python real quick and then we'll run the game. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know you guys wanted to see the snake game. Oops, one sec. That's me trying to get my Python running. Uh, I'm sure you guys can see Goose still working on the side. I'm working on Python over here. One second. Yeah. What did he ask me to run?
So, Ace, what is this text editor? Like, what is this stuff we're seeing on the screen? Is it telling us like the commands that it's running?
Yes, let's go over that a bit. So, based off the prompt that I gave, build a new app in JavaScript to get the weather of any specified location and
Mhm.
call it weather robot. It took the instructions and gave me feedback on what it's about to build. So, it's
So,
going
it
to create
gave
a
you
new
a plan essentially.
yes, a plan. It's going to create a new directory for the project. It's going to set up, basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and also use a weather API to fetch the weather data. I haven't specified the weather API, so I'm guessing I would eventually, go get the API key by myself or something. Or I can ask Goose to do that with the controller, I think. So the steps has been, excuse me, it's creating the CSS file for styling. You already created the HTML file. That's a long one. Created the HTML file, created the CSS, and now it's creating the JavaScript file. It's using the Open Weather Map API, but it's telling me I will need to go sign up for a free API key.
Mm.
But right now, it's in the placeholder API key for it. And then the next step was to excuse me. Now it's telling me that's completed the weather application with the following features: a clean and responsive user interface, search functionality for any location, and then also asking me to update my API key. Um, it's trying to run the shell. Is the server running? Because now I think we're back on the Python territory.
So, it looks like Goose love Python.
Yeah, it's looking like it. I'm gonna stop this and say open
How
the
did you
index.
stop it?
I was way too excited. There's always a stop button anytime on the side. I'm going to show you guys once I start this. So I'm going to ask it to open the HTML file just directly. I'm going to start the server right now. Uh, and this is the stop button I just clicked right here.
Ah, nice.
Yes. So I'm asking it to open the HTML file and let's see what happens with that.
So, are there any extensions you have configured that's helping Goose to do these sorts of things?
Yes, great question. Open up a new session. You can always go to options settings to see what extensions you have enabled. So I have the computer controller that is an extension that allows Goose be able to do actions or activities on my PC, like opening up a browser tab or just the generic things that are not necessarily developer focused. And of course, I think my internet is messing up. Just bear with me. I think my internet is messing up. Just probably why
Oh,
it's slow.
I thought
Yeah,
so. Okay.
live demos, right?
And then the developer one, that one's configured by default. That
Yes.
one does coding and stuff like that for you, right?
Yeah, all of this, I think, except the fetch that I have installed already, are built-in extensions. So Goose comes with built-in extensions. And my internet is acting, so I'm going to take this to the side for a sec. Um, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
So we have built-in extensions. All of these extensions are also MCP servers, model context protocol. So we have about 5 of them that come inbuilt with Goose. And then I installed the fetch one myself by going to the browse extension page that we have on this side. Right. Um,
Is
yeah.
that fetch the same fetch I would use in like my JavaScript to like fetch an API
Great
or something?
question. It's not the same, but it kind of works the same because it's able to make. I mean, it fetches the content
API
and
calls.
also has all the
Oh,
processing and stuff like that. Yeah. Let me find back the Goose window and see what's happening.
shout out to Square developer account that is in the chat. So Square developer is actually running a contest right now, the Great Code Chase. So definitely check that out to win a fun Lego prize.
Where are we? Yes. So, this is. Oh, I thought I was sharing my screen. This is the app that what's it called? Goose just built for
The
us.
weather robot. Okay,
The weather
Goose.
robot. The weather robot. I haven't tried it out yet, but sorry, I was distracted. Hello Square developer, just like Andy said. Thank you for joining us. So I don't know if we implemented like dynamic search, and I haven't also implemented API key yet. So I'm just gonna see if I'm saying oh no
So we're
dynamic.
expecting this to fail, right?
Yes, this is expected to fail. It's a live
Okay,
demo.
because
No,
we don't
it
have
is
the API
expected to
key,
fail.
but let's just
I
see
haven't.
what Goose came up with,
Yeah,
right?
but yes, location not found. That's because the API key I haven't put it in yet. We can do
Okay.
that some other time. But basically, this is essential. This let's take a step back, right? If I was doing this as a demo, it's gonna take me way longer to build out the UI, to build out the error handling, to not to center the div. It's gonna take me a long time to center the div. Well, we just added up this build up in seconds with Goose, and that is just the beginning. You can take this into your own workflow, whether you're working on documents, whether you're working with GitHub CI workflows, whether you're working on data sets that are larger than anything, or you're working very hands-on on Python or any other kind of like technology. Goose is there for you to use either with CLI or with the desktop application on Mac.
Nice.
I think
I
that
suck at like front end stuff, and so I feel like that really slows me down if I need to develop anything. And so I'm really happy to have Goose like handle that for me. I can just kind of delegate that. I love that it has the connection with Figma. I'm just thinking out loud here. I wonder if there's something I could do with like a Figma design and then have it actually go and build that out based on the Figma design. You know what I mean? And so that would be super helpful. And that way I can focus on just
yeah.
doing like kind of the back end stuff.
Yes, definitely. Over the next couple of weeks, we are going to be sharing a lot of tutorials with these extensions. We're going to be checking out more extensions in the wild, more extensions that members of the community build, and we're going to keep trying, to see how this work with Goose, adding them to the extension side, and just sharing all of these possibilities with you. So whether it's, like Angie mentioned, designing something else in Figma without doing anything myself, we'll share the tutorials and some of this video and written content for you guys, and also any new verified that we've confirmed that it's working as smoothly as it can with you guys as well on the Goose Extensions page. One more time, you can also, let me see if I can show you guys. You can follow us on, you can join the GitHub, the Discord community at, let me see, do I have the link written up here? No, I do not. Give me a second for that. But yeah, you can join, you can catch up on the documentation. I blocked the GitHub. I blog.github.io/goose. I'm typing out the invite link, I think. Yeah, it should be blog open source. But all of this is also on the website. So I'm gonna show the website instead. I have too many tabs open down. But yes, if there are any more questions that we can take, or do you want us to
While you
wrap it
all are
up?
typing your questions, I'm just going to share some of the use cases that we've seen out in the wilds. Or even in the wild, in the nest. So internally, like I said, our engineers have been using Goose for a couple of months now. We've seen them do code migration, so things like Ember to React or Ruby to Kotlin, things like that. We've seen folks dive into like new unfamiliar code bases, even with like a totally different coding language, and basically have Goose explain things to them. Transition from code based transition a code base from field based injection to constructor based injection in a dependency injection framework. Performance benchmarks, increasing code coverage. We've seen them like generate data for like API testing, creating data dog monitors, adding feature flags for new products that they want to, or new features they want to try out in products, and of course the good old faithful generating unit tests and stuff. So seeing lots of good use cases so far. Those are developer focused, but like I mentioned earlier, the community has been exploring it for things outside of just everyday engineering. So that's exciting to see as well.
Yes, it is. Awesome. Thank you very much, Angie. I was just running Goose in the background. I got distracted. I
No
wanted to
worries.
I wanted to back up so one of the things that you said about being able to find out what works in a code base or not. I just took Goose to my local copy of the Goose repository, and I asked it to describe the code in this folder, what it does, and how I can contribute. And you can see all the steps it took, analyzing the code, listing the files, reading the regular stuff like the README, the contributing guide, things that we would have to do manually to know how to get started with the repository, right? And then based on this content, it's telling me the context like the backend is built in Rust, that is correct. The front end is built in Electron, that's also correct. It's talking about the extensions, talking about documentation, and also giving me heads up on how I can actually contribute. All of this I can verify to be correct. But this is this is a tip on how you can also just get started with new or existing projects and bringing Goose into your current code base. So just doing that single sentence, that single prompt also gives Goose context, and now I can start working on this repository and asking it to do things for me. Create a new extension, create a new component, stuff like that, because it has full understanding of the code base based on the prompt I've specified just a single line. So that is just the tip of the iceberg, in my opinion. I think you guys can take Goose as far as you wanted to. I'm imploring everyone to take Goose as far as they can, and then share with us, at Goose, so that we can also highlight and also find out more of the interesting things that you guys are using Goose for, or what you need us to do for you. So, thank you so much, Angie. Any final words?
No, that was a great tip. Use Goose to help you use Goose, right? Rizal just pointed out about token usage. Someone was asking, like, okay, I keep hitting rate limits, but I'm not sure, like, how many tokens am I actually using? And you can ask Goose those sorts of questions to help you out. And it pointed it to where you can find that information. So that's great. Thank you so much, Ace. I'm really excited about Goose, what it can do today, what it's
Yeah.
gonna do in the future. Really excited to see use cases that come from the community. So keep us in the know. If you build something cool, let us know about it. Again, you can find us in Discord. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube so you know when we do these streams and things. And we'll have more tutorials coming very soon.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.